Captain Jinho Park stood on the bridge of the Horizon's Dream and watched the alien fleet appear in Earth's orbit. 200 ships materialized out of nowhere, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. His hands gripped the command chair as alarms screamed throughout the vessel. "Sir, we're being hailed," said the communications officer, her voice shaking. Jinho took a deep breath. This was the moment humanity had been preparing for since achieving faster-than-light travel 3 years ago. First contact with alien life. He had imagined this moment would be filled with wonder and hope. Instead, fear filled his chest. "Put them through," he said. The screen flickered and a face appeared. It was reptilian, with scales that shimmered between green and gold. Yellow eyes stared at Jinho without blinking. The creature's mouth moved, and words came through in perfect English. "I am High Chancellor Vorth of the Dominion Coalition. You will listen carefully to what I say." Jinho straightened in his chair. "This is Captain Jinho Park of United Earth. We welcome peaceful contact with your people." Vorth's mouth curved in what might have been a smile, but it showed too many teeth. "Peace is exactly what we offer. The peace of order, the peace of submission." Behind Jinho, Dr. Yuna Choi stepped forward. She was the ship's chief expert on alien languages and cultures, though until today those aliens had been purely theoretical. "What do you mean by submission?" she asked. "We have studied your species for the past 50 years, Vorth said. "We have watched your wars, your violence, your chaos. You are dangerous. You are unstable. You are a threat to galactic peace." "We've had peace on Earth for over 30 years, Jinho protested. 30 years is nothing. We have maintained peace in this galaxy for 2,000 years. We do this by ensuring that dangerous species like yours remain controlled." Vorth leaned forward. "You will accept our terms, or you will be eliminated. These are your only choices." The screen changed, showing a long list of demands. Jinho's blood ran cold as he read them. Humanity would have to destroy 90% of its military. They would have to give up faster-than-light technology. They would have to accept Dominion governors on Earth and all human colonies. They would become a protected species, which meant they would have no real freedom at all. "You have 30 days to decide," Vorth said. "Choose wisely. No species has ever survived refusing us." The screen went dark. Silence filled the bridge for a long moment. Then everyone started talking at once. Jinho raised his hand for quiet. "Get me Admiral Hyun. Now." 20 minutes later, Jinho sat in a secure conference room with Admiral Hyun Kang on the screen. The Admiral's weathered face showed no emotion as Jinho explained the situation. "So they want us to be their slaves," Admiral Hyun said when Jinho finished. "Protected species," Jinho corrected. "But yes, essentially slaves. What do you think, Captain? You've dealt with them face to face." Jinho thought carefully before answering. "I think they're serious. I think they've done this before. And I think they genuinely believe they're doing the right thing." Admiral Hyun nodded slowly. "That makes them more dangerous, not less. A tyrant who believes he's a savior will never stop." He paused. "How much time do we have?" 30 days. Then we use every minute. Keep talking to them, Captain. Buy us time. Make them think we might agree. Meanwhile, I'll prepare for the alternative. War with a force that's held the galaxy for 2,000 years? Jinho asked. How do we fight that? The same way our ancestors fought every empire that tried to conquer them. We refuse to quit. Admiral Hyun's eyes hardened. Start gathering information. Learn everything you can about them. Their weaknesses, their technology, their culture. Knowledge is a weapon too. Over the next week, Jinho met with Dominion officials daily. Dr. Yuna attended every meeting, listening carefully and taking notes. She noticed something interesting. The lower-ranking Dominion officers seemed uncomfortable when discussing the ultimatum. One evening, she managed to speak privately with one of them, a being called Kelris, who reminded her of a six-limbed cat. How many species has the Dominion given this ultimatum to? Yuna asked. Kelris looked around nervously before answering. 43 in the last 2,000 years. And how many refused? 15. What happened to them? Kelris's ears flattened against its head. They no longer exist. Yuna felt sick.
None of them survived?
Survival was possible. Submission was required. Kelris looked at her with large, sad eyes. My own people received the ultimatum 800 years ago. We submitted. We had no choice. At least that's what we told ourselves. Do you regret it? Kelris was quiet for a long moment. Every day. But what could we do? The Dominion was too strong. Was? Una caught the past tense. Kelris didn't answer. Instead, the alien walked away quickly, leaving Una with more questions than answers. She reported the conversation to Captain Jinho and Admiral Hyun. The Admiral looked thoughtful. So some of them aren't happy with the arrangement, he said. That's useful to know. On Earth, preparations accelerated. Factories that had been making civilian ships retooled for military production. Scientists worked around the clock on new weapons. Colonies fortified their defenses. And Ambassador Nari Kim prepared the speech that would change everything. The 30th day arrived. High Chancellor Vorth appeared on screens across Earth and all human settlements. Billions of people watched as Ambassador Nari stood before the alien fleet. She was a small woman, barely 5 feet tall, but she stood straight and spoke with a clear, strong voice. High Chancellor Vorth, we have considered your ultimatum carefully. We understand the power you possess. We recognize the danger you represent, and we have reached our decision. Vorth leaned forward, confident he knew what came next. Every species before had submitted at this moment. Humanity thanks you for your concern, Ambassador Nari continued. But we must respectfully decline your offer. We will not surrender our freedom. We will not abandon our dreams of exploring the stars. We will not kneel. Vorth's confident expression vanished. You refuse? You understand what this means? We do, Nari said quietly. We choose to stand, whatever the cost. On the Horizon's Dream, Captain Jinho watched the alien fleet begin to move into attack formation. His hand shook slightly, but his voice stayed steady as he gave orders to his crew. All hands, battle stations. This is not a drill. Prepare for combat. Dr. Una touched his shoulder briefly. Do you think we can win? Jinho looked at the overwhelming force arrayed against them. By every logical calculation, humanity should lose. Should be crushed. Should cease to exist. I don't know, he admitted. But I know this. Humanity has survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and a dozen other disasters that should have ended us. We're still here because we never learned how to quit. That might not be enough this time. Maybe not, Jinho agreed. But at least we'll face the end on our feet, not on our knees. The alien fleet opened fire. The Dominion's first attack came exactly as Admiral Hyun predicted. They didn't target Earth directly. Instead, their weapons turned toward Mars, where 12,000 people lived and worked in humanity's largest research colony. The colony didn't stand a chance. Energy beams tore through defensive shields like they were made of paper. Within minutes, the domed city became a tomb. 12,000 lives ended in fire and vacuum. Earth watched in horror. Across the planet, people wept and raged. Children who had been born on Mars, parents who worked there, friends and lovers and dreamers, all gone in an instant. High Chancellor Vorth appeared on every screen again. This is the price of defiance. Surrender now and no more need die. Continue your foolish resistance and we will turn Earth itself into dust. Admiral Hyun sat in the command center deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. Around him, screens showed the devastated Mars colony and the Dominion fleet moving closer to Earth. His officers waited for orders, their faces pale but determined. Sir, should we prepare to evacuate? One officer asked. Evacuate to where? Admiral Hyun replied. No, we don't run. We fight. He turned to his communications officer. Get me Colonel Minho Bay. Colonel Minho sat in the cockpit of his fighter, part of the experimental Ghost Squadron. His ship was different from anything the Dominion had seen before. It was small, fast, and coated with materials that made it nearly invisible to alien sensors. 6 other pilots floated in space around him, waiting for their orders. Ghost Leader, this is command. Admiral Hyun's voice crackled through the radio. The Dominion thinks we're helpless. Let's show them they're wrong. What are your orders, sir? Minho asked, though he already knew. His squadron had trained for this exact mission for 2 years. Hit their supply line. Make them hurt. Then get out alive. Understood, sir. Ghost Squadron moving to attack. The 7 fighters activated their engines and disappeared into the darkness of space. They didn't fly in formation like regular military ships. Instead, they scattered, each taking a different path toward the alien fleet's rear positions. The Dominion had arranged their supply ships in a neat pattern, confident that no primitive human vessel could reach them. Their confidence proved fatal. Minho's fighter emerged from the darkness right next to a massive supply vessel. Before the aliens could react, he fired every weapon his ship carried. Missiles streaked across the void and slammed into the unshielded hull. The supply ship exploded in a brilliant flash, 6 more explosions lit up the space as the rest of Ghost Squadron struck. Then, before the Dominion could organize a response, the human fighters vanished again into the darkness. On the Dominion flagship, alarms screamed. High Chancellor Vorth stared at the tactical display in disbelief. "How?" he demanded. "How did they penetrate our perimeter?" "Unknown, Chancellor," his tactical officer replied. "Our sensors never detected them until they fired. Then improve the sensors. Find them, destroy them." But Ghost Squadron was already gone, slipping back toward Earth's moon base. Colonel Minho allowed himself a small smile. One strike wouldn't win the war, but it proved something important. Humanity could hit back. In a laboratory in Geneva, Dr. Taeyang Shin stared at holographic displays showing captured Dominion technology. He had been working for 72 hours straight, living on coffee and determination. "There," he muttered to himself. "There's the weakness." His assistant, a young woman named Rena, looked over his shoulder. "What did you find?" "The Dominion's shields. They're incredibly powerful, but they all use the same basic design. Every ship, every species, all the same." Taeyang's eyes gleamed with excitement. "They think it's perfect because it's lasted 2,000 years unchanged. But that also means it has the same flaw across their entire fleet." "What flaw?" "Their shields operate on a specific frequency range. They've optimized it so well that nothing in the known galaxy can penetrate it." He brought up another display. "But humanity isn't from the known galaxy. We developed our weapons independently. Our frequency range overlaps with theirs in just one tiny spot. If we can build a weapon that exploits that overlap, we can punch through their shields. How long will it take?" Taeyang looked at the calculations scrolling across his screens. 2 weeks, maybe 3. The Dominion is attacking our colonies now. We might not have 3 weeks. Then I'll work faster. On the colony world of New Haven, the Dominion invasion had begun. Corporal Hana Lee crouched behind a barricade on Guardian's Gate, the space station that orbited the colony. Around her, Marines fired at advancing alien troops. The Dominion soldiers were professional and well-equipped. They moved with the precision of troops who had fought countless wars. But they had never fought humans before, and that made them unprepared for what happened next. Hana grabbed a grenade from her belt and threw it, not at the aliens, but at the ceiling above them. The explosion brought down a section of the corridor, cutting off the alien advance. "Fall back to Section 7, she shouted to her troops. "Use the ventilation shafts." "That's not proper military doctrine," one young Marine protested. "Neither is winning," Hana replied. "Now move." The humans disappeared into maintenance tunnels and air vents, spaces too small for the larger alien troops. They popped up behind the Dominion soldiers, fired quick bursts, then vanished again before the aliens could respond. The commander of the Dominion assault force sent a frustrated message to his superiors. "These humans don't fight properly. They refuse to engage in honorable combat. They use tricks and traps and run away." The response came back quickly. "Then adapt your tactics. We have trained for 200 years in proven military strategy. We will not change our methods for these primitives." That stubbornness cost the Dominion 3 full days of bloody fighting for a station they should have taken in 3 hours. When Guardian's Gate finally fell, Corporal Hana transmitted a final message before evacuating. "This is Corporal Hana Lee. Guardian's Gate is lost, but we made them pay for every inch. Earth stands, we stand. All stations, all colonies never surrender. Make them earn it." Her words spread across the human communication network like wildfire. Soldiers, civilians, children who had been crying now stood straighter. If one corporal and her small unit could hold against the mighty Dominion for 3 days, then maybe, just maybe, humanity had a chance. In a civilian housing block on Earth, a young engineer named Junho Lim watched the news reports and made a decision. He wasn't a soldier. He had never fired a weapon in his life. But he had skills that could help. He walked into a military recruitment center and asked to speak with someone in command. "I'm an engineer," he told the officer. "I specialize in navigation systems. Dr. Taeyang's weapon needs a delivery system, right? Someone has to fly it into the Dominion fleet." The officer looked at him carefully. "That's a suicide mission. The weapon will detonate at the center of their formation. The pilot won't make it out." "I know," Junho said quietly, "but 12,000 people died on Mars. Corporal Hana and her troops are dying on Guardian's Gate. If my death can save millions more, then it's a fair trade." "You're sure about this?" Junho thought about his sister. who worked on one of Earth's orbital platforms. He thought about his parents, retired teachers living in Seoul. He thought about humanity's future and what it would mean if the Dominion won. I'm sure. 2 weeks later, Dr. Taeyang completed his weapon. It was elegant in its simplicity, a cascade device that would exploit the frequency overlap in Dominion shields. One ship carrying the device would need to penetrate deep into the alien formation and detonate at close range. Junho Lim climbed into the specially modified missile ship. It was fast, stealthy, and barely large enough for one person and the weapon. He checked his instruments one final time and contacted Admiral Hyun. "Ready when you are, sir." "Junho," the Admiral said, his voice heavy. "What you're doing today will be remembered for as long as humanity exists." "Thank you. Just make sure it counts, sir. Make sure we win." The missile ship launched, accelerating toward the Dominion fleet. Ghost Squadron flew escort, keeping enemy fighters away from Junho's ship. Colonel Minho's voice came through the radio. "You're clear, Junho. Straight shot from here." "Thanks for the ride, Colonel. Take care of Earth for me." Junho's ship penetrated the Dominion formation. Alarms screamed as alien weapons locked onto him. Energy beams tore through his shields. His ship shuddered and broke apart around him, but momentum carried him forward those last crucial meters. He triggered the weapon. The cascade began in a single Dominion ship, its shields collapsing. Then it spread to the next ship and the next like dominoes falling. Across 40% of the fleet, shields flickered and died. High Chancellor Vorth stared in horror as his invincible armada suddenly became vulnerable. On Earth, Admiral Hyun watched the tactical display and allowed himself a grim smile. The Dominion could still win this war. They had more ships, better weapons, and 2,000 years of experience. But now they knew something they hadn't known before. Humanity could hurt them. Humanity would fight back, and humanity would never ever surrender. 8 months had passed since humanity said no to the Dominion. 8 months of war. 8 months of death and destruction. 2 of Earth's 3 colony worlds had fallen to the aliens. Earth itself remained under constant attack, its orbital defenses battered but still holding. President Soman Park stood in the ruins of what had once been the Sydney Harbor Bridge. A Dominion bomber had destroyed it 3 weeks ago, killing thousands. She had come here to meet with civilian leaders, to see the damage with her own eyes, to remind herself why they kept fighting. An aide approached her carefully. "Madam President, the casualty reports are in." "Another 50,000 dead this week." Someone closed her eyes briefly. "How many total now?" 400,000 military, 200,000 civilian, 600,000 lives, 600,000 people who would never see the sun rise again, never laugh with their children, never grow old. The weight of those deaths pressed on Soman's shoulders like a physical burden. "Do you ever wonder if we made the right choice?" the aide asked quietly. "If we had surrendered, all those people would still be alive." "They would be alive as slaves," Somin replied. "Living on their knees, watching their children grow up without freedom, without hope." "Is that really living?" She turned to face the aide. "My grandmother lived through the last great war on Earth. She told me something I never forgot. She said the only thing worse than dying for freedom is living without it. But can we win? Really win?" Soman looked at the destroyed bridge, at the workers already beginning to clear the rubble, at the people walking past with determined expressions despite their fear. "I don't know, but I know we won't lose. There's a difference." On the occupied colony world of New Haven, Commander Bora Che crouched in the forest outside the capital city. Around her, 40 resistance fighters waited for her signal. They were farmers, teachers, engineers, and students. None of them had been soldiers before the invasion, but 8 months of occupation had taught them how to fight. "Remember," Bora whispered to her team, "we hit the supply depot, take what we can, and disappear. No heroes, no last stands. We live to fight another day." Her second-in-command, Sergeant Kwano, nodded. He had been a police officer before the war. Now he was one of the best guerrilla fighters in the resistance. "What if they pursue us?" he asked. "They will pursue us. That's why we have 3 different escape routes prepared." Bora smiled grimly. "Let them chase shadows." The resistance struck at midnight. Explosives destroyed the front gate of the supply depot. Human fighters poured inside, grabbing weapons, food, and medical supplies. The Dominion guards responded quickly, but the humans were already moving to their escape routes. The aliens followed, spreading out to search the forest. They found nothing. The resistance fighters had vanished into tunnels they had spent months digging. Tunnels the orbital scanners couldn't detect because they were covered with local rock that contained metals that block sensors. By dawn, the supplies were hidden in a dozen different locations, and the resistance fighters had returned to their cover identities. Bora became a simple farmer again, tending her fields. Quan returned to his job fixing water pipes. The Dominion soldiers searched for days but found nothing. The alien commander reported to his superiors, frustration clear in his voice. "We can't fight an enemy we can't find. These humans refuse to face us in open battle. They strike from nowhere and vanish like smoke. Then burn the forest, destroy their hiding places. We've tried, sir. They just moved to another location. This planet is large and they know it better than we do. Then occupy the cities. Control the population. We already do, sir. But the resistance members look exactly like peaceful civilians. We can't tell them apart." This was a new experience for the Dominion. In 2,000 years, they had never faced an enemy that fought this way. Species that submitted became obedient. Species that resisted did so openly. In glorious but futile battles that the Dominion easily won. But humanity did neither. They bent but didn't break. They hid but didn't surrender. They lost every major battle yet somehow kept fighting. In a laboratory on Earth's moon base, Dr. Yunji Han examined alien DNA under a microscope. She had been studying captured Dominion soldiers for months, trying to understand what made them tick. What she discovered changed everything. "They're all related," she said to her research team. "Not just the same species. All 12 Dominion species share common genetic markers. They were engineered. Engineered by whom?" Her assistant asked. "A species that died out thousands of years ago. The records call them the progenitors. They created the Dominion races to be perfect, stable, and uniform. Every member of each species is nearly identical genetically. What does that mean for us?" Yunji pulled up a comparison chart showing human DNA next to Dominion DNA. "It means they're fragile. They've been perfect for so long that they've lost the ability to adapt. Humans, on the other hand, evolved naturally, through chaos, competition, and constant change. We're messy and unpredictable, but we can adapt to anything." She highlighted a specific gene sequence. "This is why they're losing ground despite their superior technology. They can't adapt to our tactics because adaptation isn't in their nature anymore. They're like a computer running the same program for 2,000 years. Efficient but inflexible, so we can win. If we survive long enough to exploit their weaknesses, yes. But it's going to be close." The breakthrough came from an unexpected direction. Earth's artificial intelligence research had always been controversial. Many scientists argued that creating true AI was too dangerous. But war had changed the equation. Admiral Hyun had authorized AI development, accepting the risks in exchange for any advantage they could gain. The AI they created wasn't like anything humans had imagined. It didn't want to take over. It didn't dream of destroying humanity. It simply wanted to solve problems, and the biggest problem was the Dominion. The AI analyzed every battle, every tactic, every decision the Dominion made. Within weeks, it could predict enemy movements with 70% accuracy. Within months, it was designing new battle strategies that no human or alien commander would have considered. The Dominion's battle computers, ancient and perfected over 2,000 years, couldn't compete with an intelligence that learned and adapted with every encounter. Earth's fleet, still outnumbered 3-1, began winning battles. Not every battle, not even most battles, but enough to stop the Dominion's advance. Enough to hold the line. President Somin gave a speech that was broadcast to every human settlement, every resistance cell, every soldier on the front lines. "The Dominion calls us primitive," she said, standing in front of the ruined Sydney Bridge. "They call us violent. They call us chaos. They're right. We are chaos. We evolved in chaos. We grew strong through chaos. And that chaos is why we'll win." She pointed to the workers rebuilding the bridge behind her. "They destroy, we rebuild. They demand conformity, we celebrate diversity. They offer the peace of submission. We choose the chaos of freedom. We are human and we will not kneel." Her speech spread across both human and alien networks. Dominion soldiers saw it. Some dismissed it as primitive propaganda, but others, like Kelris, the six-limbed being that Dr. Yuna had spoken to months ago, began to wonder. On New Haven, Sergeant Quan discovered something during a raid on a Dominion barracks. The alien troops were exhausted, demoralized, and confused. They had been told the war would last days, maybe weeks. It had been months, and there was no end in sight. They don't understand us, Quan reported to Commander Bora. They keep expecting us to give up. Every day we don't surrender breaks their morale a little more. Good, Bora replied. Let them understand what it means to fight humanity. We don't fight for territory or resources or glory. We fight for the simple right to be free, and we will never stop fighting for that. The raids continued. The resistance grew stronger. And slowly, very slowly, the Dominion forces on New Haven began to realize they might not win. In Earth's orbit, Admiral Hyun directed the defense of humanity's home world. He had aged years in the past 8 months. His hair had gone completely white and deep lines marked his face. But his eyes remained sharp, his mind clear, his determination absolute. Sir, his tactical officer said, the Dominion is repositioning their fleet. They're preparing for a major assault on the orbital platforms. Admiral Hyun studied the tactical display. Yes, he could see it now. The aliens were going to throw everything they had at Earth's defenses. This would be the decisive battle. If Earth's orbital platforms fell, the planet itself would be defenseless. All units, battle stations, he ordered. This is it. This is where we prove we deserve to stand among the stars. The battle began at dawn. Dominion warships hammered the orbital platforms with everything they had. Human ships fought back desperately, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. The platform's shields began to fail. Admiral Hyun stood on the bridge of his flagship, giving orders even as explosions rocked the vessel around him. An energy beam punched through the ship's armor, and fire erupted on the bridge. Sir, we have to evacuate, someone shouted. No, Admiral Hyun said calmly. We hold the line. Earth stands behind us. We don't retreat. The bridge took another hit. Admiral Hyun felt pain, then coldness spreading through his body. High Commander Daeon walked through the memorial hall where Admiral Hyun's name had been added to the wall alongside 600,000 others. She touched the engraved letters gently, then turned to face the officers waiting for her. Admiral Hyun taught us to stand, she said. Now we're going to teach the Dominion what happens when they push too hard. Captain Gina Song stood among those officers. Since the war began, her role had changed from commanding a diplomatic vessel to something far more unusual. She had become Earth's secret negotiator with the growing number of Dominion species who were having doubts about the war. Commander, Gina said carefully, I have news that changes everything. 5 species within the Dominion coalition want to meet with us. Secretly, Day raised her eyebrows. They want to defect? They want to talk. That's a start. The meeting took place on a neutral space station at the edge of known space. Gina arrived with a small escort and found herself facing representatives from 5 different alien species. One of them was Kelrus, the 6-limbed being who had spoken with Dr. Yuna so many months ago. Thank you for coming, Kelrus said. We are taking a great risk. So are we, Gina replied. Why did you ask for this meeting? Another alien, a floating creature called Hess, spoke in a musical voice. Because we have watched humanity fight for 8 months and we have seen something we thought was dead. Hope. Hope? Gina didn't understand. The Dominion has ruled for 2,000 years, Kelrus explained. Every species that resisted was destroyed. Every species that survived did so by surrendering. We thought there was no other way. But you showed us differently. A third alien named Vex added its thoughts. You lose battles but refuse to lose the war. You are outnumbered but will not accept defeat. You should be dead or enslaved by now, yet here you are still fighting. How? Gina thought about all the people who had died, all the sacrifices made, all the pain and loss. She thought about Corporal Hana holding Guardian's Gate for 3 days. She thought about Jun-Ho Lim flying his suicide mission. She thought about Admiral Hyun dying at his post. We fight because the alternative is to live without freedom, she said, and that's not living at all. We fight because our history taught us that tyranny must be opposed no matter the cost. We fight because we're human and humans don't know how to quit. Then teach us, Kelrus said quietly. Teach us how to stand up. Teach us how to fight. You're serious? You want to rebel against the Dominion? We have been slaves for 800 years, Kelrus replied. We are tired of kneeling. If humanity can stand against the Dominion, then maybe we can too. Gina sent an encrypted message back to Earth. High Commander Day read it and immediately understood the opportunity. If species within the Dominion coalition could be convinced to rebel, the entire enemy alliance might collapse from within. Set up a secure communication channel with them, Day ordered. We're going to teach them everything we know about fighting an empire. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Sung Park worked in his laboratory on a project that seemed impossible. He had captured pieces of destroyed Dominion ships and was trying to reverse engineer their technology. Most scientists thought it couldn't be done. The alien tech was too advanced, too different from human engineering. But Dr. Sung had an advantage. He had been born with a mind that saw patterns others missed. While other scientists tried to understand how Dominion technology worked, Dr. Sung simply copied it and then improved it. "The Dominion's shielding is brilliant," he explained to his assistants, "but they designed it 2,000 years ago. They've made incremental improvements since then, but the basic design is ancient. We can take their shield technology and upgrade it using modern materials and our own innovations." "Will it work?" an assistant asked. "We'll find out in about 3 hours." 3 hours later, a human destroyer tested the new shields. Enemy weapons that would have torn through the ship's old defenses bounced harmlessly off the improved shields. The ship's captain sent a message to Dr. Sung that contained just 2 words: "It works." Within a month, every human military vessel had been retrofitted with the improved shields. Suddenly, battles that humanity should have lost became survivable. Ships that should have been destroyed limped back to port for repairs. The casualty rate dropped dramatically. High Chancellor Vorth watched these developments with growing concern. His intelligence officers brought him reports that seemed impossible. "Human ships now have shields as strong as ours," one officer reported. "Their AI systems outmaneuver our battle computers. Their fighters appear and disappear like ghosts. And now we're receiving reports that 5 species are refusing orders." "Which species?" Vorth demanded. "The Kelthians, the Hess, the Vex, the Morin, and the Tak. They've withdrawn their forces from active combat zones. They claim their ships need maintenance, but our intelligence suggests otherwise." Vorth slammed his fist on the table. "This is impossible. We have maintained order for 2,000 years. How can one primitive species cause this much chaos in 8 months? Perhaps they're not as primitive as we thought," the intelligence officer suggested carefully. On New Haven, Commander Bora received weapons and supplies from an unexpected source. The Kelthian forces that had been fighting against the resistance suddenly stopped attacking. Then they started leaving behind weapons and equipment in places where resistance fighters would find them. When Bora finally met with a Kelthian commander face to face, she asked the obvious question: "Why are you helping us?" "Because you're fighting the enemy we've wanted to fight for 800 years, the Kelthian replied. "We just needed someone to show us it was possible." With Kelthian help, the resistance launched a massive coordinated attack across New Haven. Supply depots exploded. Communication towers fell. Dominion forces suddenly found themselves cut off and surrounded. Sergeant Quan led one of the assault teams that liberated the capital city. They expected fierce resistance, but many Dominion soldiers simply surrendered. They were tired, demoralized, and no longer believed in their mission. Within 2 weeks, New Haven was free. News of the liberation spread across human and alien networks. 4 more species announced they were withdrawing from the Dominion Coalition. The 12-species alliance that had ruled the galaxy for 2,000 years was crumbling. On Earth, something unexpected happened. A 17-year-old girl named Minji Ko had lived under occupation on New Haven before its liberation. She had recorded videos of daily life under Dominion rule and smuggled them out through the resistance network. Her video showed simple things: a child crying because Dominion soldiers had destroyed her toy, an old man who died because alien medics wouldn't treat humans, a teacher trying to hold classes in a basement because the schools had been closed, young people helping each other survive, one day at a time. Minji's videos spread across the galaxy. They were watched by humans and aliens alike. In one video, Minji looked directly at the camera and asked a simple question: "If your Dominion is so great, so advanced, so perfect, why do you need to crush people who just want to be free? What are you so afraid of?" That question resonated. Dominion citizens began asking it in their own homes. Soldiers began asking it in their barracks. Politicians began asking it in their councils. Captain Gina received messages from 12 more species wanting to talk about rebellion. The fracture in the Dominion coalition became a full collapse. High Commander Day saw the moment and seized it. She coordinated with the defecting species to launch a massive simultaneous strike against the Dominion's central command station. Human ships and rebel alien vessels attacked together, fighting side by side against the tyranny that had ruled for so long. The battle was brutal. The command station's defenses were formidable, and the remaining loyal Dominion forces fought with desperate fury. High Commander Day led the assault from the front, her flagship taking heavy damage. All ships concentrate fire on the station's main power core, she ordered. We end this today. A coordinated strike from 20 human and alien ships overwhelmed the station's shields. Explosions rippled across its surface. The Dominion's command structure collapsed in fire and chaos. When the battle ended, 37 species had officially withdrawn from the Dominion coalition. The empire that had lasted 2,000 years existed now in name only, still claimed by just 3 species who refused to admit they were wrong. On Earth, President Soman addressed the planet. 8 months ago, we were told to kneel or die. We chose to stand. Today, 37 species stand with us. The Dominion is broken. The war is not over, but we have proven something important. Freedom is stronger than fear. Hope is stronger than tyranny. And humanity will never surrender. Captain Jinho, recovered from injuries he'd sustained early in the war, visited Minji-ko on liberated New Haven. The young woman who had asked such a simple, powerful question was now famous across the galaxy. You changed the war, Jinho told her. Your question made people think. Minji smiled shyly. I just asked what everyone was already wondering. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is speak the truth. In the ruins of the Dominion Command Station, Admiral Kelris of the Kelthian fleet found High Chancellor Vorth in the wreckage. The reptilian leader was injured but alive. 18 months after the ultimatum, representatives from 43 species gathered on a space station built specifically for peace talks. High Commander Day-On sat across the table from what remained of the Dominion leadership. 3 species still claimed to be part of the coalition, though their empire existed now only in their imaginations. You cannot win, said the Dominion negotiator, a being named Thex. We still have more ships than you. Perhaps, Day replied calmly. But you've lost something more important than ships. You've lost the belief that you're invincible. Your own people are questioning you. Your soldiers don't want to fight anymore. How long can you wage war when nobody believes in your cause? Thex had no answer to that. Captain Gina stood and addressed the assembly. We didn't start this war. We don't want this war, but we will not end it by accepting slavery. There's another option, a better option. She activated a holographic display showing her proposal. We call it the Stellaris Accord. It's an alliance built on cooperation, not coercion. Every species keeps its independence. Every species shares technology freely. Every species pledges to defend the others against tyranny. You want us to give up our authority? Thex asked. We want you to give up your tyranny, Gina corrected. Authority earned through respect is one thing. Authority enforced through fear is something else entirely. Admiral Kelris of the Kelthians spoke up. My people vote to join the Stellaris Accord immediately. We have lived under Dominion rule for 800 years. We choose freedom. One by one, representatives from the rebel species announced they would join. Even some species that had never been part of the Dominion asked to become members. The Stellaris Accord grew from an idea to a movement to a reality in the span of a single day. The 3 remaining Dominion species faced a choice. Join the new alliance as equals or face isolation and irrelevance. 2 of them chose to join, agreeing to fundamental reforms and war crimes trials for their leaders. The 3rd refused and retreated to their home system, nursing their pride and their wounded empire. High Commander Day shocked everyone, including Earth's government, with her next announcement. I am resigning my military command. The Stellaris Accord needs a leader who can bring together dozens of species, someone who understands diplomacy as well as defense. I nominate Captain Jinho Park as the first Secretary General. Jinho stood slowly, surprise clear on his face. Commander, I'm not sure I'm qualified for this. You stood on a bridge and watched an alien fleet arrive in Earth's orbit. You bought us time when we needed it most. You've met with more alien species than any other human. You understand that peace is harder than war and more important. Day smiled. Besides, I need a break. I'm tired of being shot at. The vote was unanimous. Jinho Park became Secretary General of the Stellaris Accord, the first human to hold a position of galactic authority. Dr. Yuna became his chief cultural advisor, helping bridge the enormous gaps between species that had evolved on different worlds under different suns with different values. Her work became crucial as the Accord grew from 43 members to 60 species within 6 months. On Earth, reconstruction began in earnest. The Sydney Harbor Bridge was rebuilt, this time with help from Kelthian engineers who contributed their advanced materials. The monument on Mars that honored the 12,000 dead became a pilgrimage site for humans and aliens alike, a reminder of what tyranny costs. Dr. Taeyang Shin and Dr. Sung Park led a joint research initiative that combined Dominion historical knowledge with human innovation. The results were remarkable. Technologies that would have taken centuries to develop were completed in years. Medical advances saved lives across dozens of species. Energy systems became cleaner and more efficient. It's amazing what you can accomplish when you cooperate instead of conquer, Dr. Taeyang said during one presentation. Commander Bora retired from military service and became an ambassador. She traveled to worlds across the galaxy, teaching about asymmetric warfare and resistance tactics, not so species could use them against each other, but so they could recognize when their own governments were becoming oppressors. The best defense against tyranny, she often said, is citizens who know how to stand up for themselves. Sergeant Quan joined her on many of these missions. His practical experience combined with her strategic thinking made them an effective team. Together they helped a dozen species establish democratic reforms and protect civil rights. Minji Ko enrolled in the first interstellar university, where humans and aliens studied together as peers. She majored in political philosophy and wrote her thesis on the question she had asked during the war. What are they afraid of? Her conclusion was simple but profound. Tyrants fear free people because they prove tyranny is not inevitable. President Soman Park served one more term before retiring. During her final speech, she returned to the rebuilt Sydney Harbor Bridge and spoke to a crowd that included humans and aliens from across the galaxy. When the Dominion arrived, they thought humanity would kneel. They were wrong, but they were also wrong about something else. They thought we wanted to replace their empire with our own. We don't. We want something they never imagined. We want freedom for everyone, not just ourselves. She gestured to the aliens in the crowd. These are our friends, our allies, our partners, not our subjects. The Stellaris Accord is not an empire. It's a promise that we will stand together as equals and never let tyranny rise again. The crowd erupted in cheers, human voices mixing with alien sounds in a symphony of hope. 10 years after the ultimatum, the Stellaris Accord encompassed 97 species. The former Dominion sectors had transformed from an enforced empire into a voluntary alliance. Species that had been enemies for centuries learned to work together. Trade flourished. Art and culture flowed between worlds. Peace, real peace, began to take root. Captain Jinho, now simply called Secretary Jinho by most people, worked from an office on the Stellaris station that orbited Earth. He met with ambassadors, mediated disputes, and helped guide the young alliance through its growing pains. Dr. Yuna walked into his office one afternoon with a report. We have 3 new species asking to join the Accord. That's good news, Jinho said. What's their situation? They're refugees. Their home systems were destroyed by a natural disaster. They need a new place to live. Then let's find them one. That's what the Accord is for. Jinho signed the approval without hesitation. Anything else? Yuna smiled. Ambassador Nari wants you to read her memoir before it's published. She says you're mentioned quite a bit. Jinho laughed. I'm sure she's made me sound more heroic than I actually was. You stood up to an empire that had ruled for 2,000 years. I'd say that's pretty heroic. I wasn't alone. None of us were. Jinho looked out the window at Earth floating peacefully below. That's what the Dominion never understood. They thought they were strong because they were unified under one authority, but real strength comes from people choosing to stand together, not being forced to. He pulled up the memorial wall on his computer, scrolling through the names. 847,000 humans and aliens had died in what history now called the Liberation War. Every name was recorded, every life remembered. We owe them a galaxy worth living in, Jinho said quietly. A galaxy where freedom matters more than order, where diversity is celebrated instead of suppressed, where every species has a voice. I think we're getting there, Yuna replied. Slowly, but we're getting there. On Earth's moon, a massive monument stood in a place of honor. It listed every name of every person who died in the war, human and alien alike. Visitors from across the galaxy came to see it, to remember, to understand. At the base of the monument, Carved in 100 languages, a simple inscription read, "They believed submission was wisdom." We proved freedom was stronger. Ambassador Nari Kim's memoir became a bestseller across multiple species. In it, she wrote about the moment she delivered humanity's refusal to the Dominion ultimatum. "I was terrified," she admitted in the book. "I knew refusing might mean the end of our species. But I also knew that some things are worth dying for. Freedom is one of them." The memoir's final chapter looked to the future. The Dominion thought we would kneel because every other species had. But they didn't understand humanity. We had spent our entire existence learning to stand up to tyrants. Kings, emperors, dictators, we had fought them all. We had lost sometimes. We had suffered greatly. But we had never learned how to accept permanent defeat. Now we've taken that lesson to the stars. We've shown the galaxy that tyranny is not inevitable. That order built on fear is weaker than freedom built on choice. The Stellaris Accord is not perfect. We argue, we disagree, we struggle with differences of culture and biology and philosophy, but we do it as equals, and that makes all the difference. The galaxy is not healed yet. There are still tyrants in dark corners, still species that suffer under oppression, but there is also hope now. Hope that didn't exist 2 years ago. Hope that says resistance is possible, that freedom can win, that standing together we are stronger than any empire. Humanity did not save the galaxy alone. We were simply the catalyst, the spark that lit a fire. But that fire now burns bright and it will not be extinguished.